All glories to Srila Prabhupada, Guru and Gauranga. We are very fortunate that today we have His Grace Srinath Krishna Prabhuji in our house, Partsarthi Foundation. Prabhuji is going to provide us the nectar of 16th session of NOI, which is basically verse number 10. Let us welcome Prabhuji by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Now I am requesting Prabhuji to take over the call and provide the nectar of today's topic to all of us. Hare Krishna, Hare Bol. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Start the slideshow. Oops, too far. Okay. Yeah. So we're continuing with our Nectar of Instruction series. We are on text 10 now. Today is Ekadashi here in Dallas, Texas, from where we are. I've been not feeling well for the last week at least, and I was thinking, will I be able to do this today or not? Because I've been like coughing a lot, and I didn't know if I could speak without coughing. But then we remembered Bhaktivinoda Thakur saying, Madhava Tithi Bhakti Janani. So this is an opportunity for us to read the NOI and speak about it so that we can cultivate some bhakti. So we're trying and hoping that we won't go into a coughing bout. So text 10, but as usual, we'll start with Ohe Vaishnav Thakur. Prabhu, can you unmute your mic and repeat after me the song?
Okay, Prabhu.
Okay. Ohe Vaishnava Thakura Dhoyara Sagara Edashe Koruna Kori.
Ohe Vaishnava Thakur Dhoyara Sagara Edase Koruna Kori.
Diya Pada Chaya Shodohe Amaya Tomara Charana Dhori.
Diya Pada Chaya Sodohi Amaya Tomar Charan Dhori.
Chaya Begadomi Chaya Dosha Shodhi Chaya Guna Deho Dase.
Chaya Begadomi Chaya Dosa Sodi Chaya Guna Dehudase.
Chaya Sata Shanga Deho He Amare Boshechi Sangera Ashe.
Chaya Satsanga Dehui Amare Bosiache Sangera Asi.
Ekake Amara Nahi Paya Bhala Harinama Sankirtane.
Ekaki Amara Nahi Paya Bala Hari Nam Sankirtani.
Tumi kripa kore Shraddha Bindu Diya Deho Krishna Nama Dhane.
Tumi kripa kori Shraddha Bindu Diya Dekho Krishna Naam Dhane.
Krishna se tomara Krishna dite paro Tomara shakati ache.
Krishna se tomara Krishna dite paro Tomara sakti aache.
Ami to kangala Krishna Krishna boli Daye tava pache pache.
Ami to kangala Krishna Krishna boli Dai tava pache pache.
Daye tava pache pache.
Dai tava pache pache.
Thank you, bro.
Right.
So this is our translation. O Venerable Vaishnava, devotee of Krishna, O Ocean of Mercy, be merciful unto your servant. Give me the shade of your lotus feet and purify me. I hold on to your lotus feet. Teach me to control my 6 passions, rectify my 6 faults, bestow upon me the 6 qualities, and offer unto me the 6 kinds of holy association. I do not find the strength to carry on alone the Sankirtana of the holy name of Hari. Please bless me by giving me just 1 drop of faith with which to obtain the great treasure of the holy name of Krishna. Krishna is yours. You have the power to give him to me. I am simply your servant, running behind you, shouting, Krishna, Krishna. So I was telling Maharaj, I think a week back or something, that I was not feeling well, and especially when you're not feeling well, it's really difficult for me, at least, the third verse at least and the fourth verse are so apt. It says, I do not find the strength to carry on alone. Your body is weak, your mind just doesn't want to do anything, especially for me when I get a cold or something. But this is how it's going to be when we get old or at the time of death. It says it's going to be a very difficult thing to do, and it's a test, something that it's an opportunity for us to try to practice devotional service at such times when it's not very conducive. But for us to carry on, we need the mercy of Guru. Only by that can we carry on. So this is text 10 of the Upadeshamrita today. I don't know how I moved this. Okay, I think that's okay. Hide video panel. That's what I wrote. No. I should hide the floating meeting panel. It's just on my, sorry. Krishna. Yeah. Okay. So we are on text 10. And we've seen this throughout the NOI, that just poetically speaking, this is a very sophisticated literature, even though it might have just 11 verses. It starts with Trishtub, Vacho Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam in the first verse, and then goes back to the simple meter of Anushtub, which is the normal shloka verse that we're all used to in Atyahara Prayasasya all the way. And then it moves on to a little bit complicated meter called the Vasanta Tilaka, which is the meter that we sing for Govinda Madi Purusham, the Brahma Samhita meter. And then slowly we've seen the meter is becoming longer and longer as we've moved through the verses. And now we are at one of the biggest meters that we have. This is the Shardula Vikriditam, like it's called the play of the tiger. This is the meter that the first and the second verses of the Srimad Bhagavatam are in. So we'll try reciting it, and then Prabhu, you can repeat. You can unmute, and then you can say, and I can repeat like that. And then everybody can do it with their mics muted, everybody else.
You are talking about verse, right?
Yeah. Karmibhya parito hare priyataya vyaktim yayurjnaninas.
Karmi bhayo parito hare paripriyataya vyaktikam yayurjanana.
Tebhyo jnana vimukta bhakti parama premaikanisthastata.
Tabhyo jnana vimukta bhakti parama premaikanisthastata.
Tebhyasta pashupala pankajadrishas tabhyopi saradhika.
Abhyasta pasupala pankajadrasastabhyopi saradhika.
Preshta tatvadiyam tadiya sarasi tam nashrayet kakriti.
Preshta tadvat iyam tadiya sarasitam nasrayat kahakriti.
You want to try chanting and I can repeat?
Mika wants to recite Prabhu, or only Amit
Yeah,
Prabhu?
she can do it. We can all repeat.
Karmibhya Hare priyataya vyaktim yajodhaninas.
कर्मेभ्यः परितो हरे प्रियतया व्यक्तिं ययुर्ज्ञानिनः
तेभ्यो ज्ञानविमुक्ता भक्ति परमा प्रेमे कनिष्ठास्तथा
तेभ्यो ज्ञानविमुक्तभक्तिपरमा प्रेमैकनिष्ठास्तथा
तेभ्यस्ता पशुपालपङ्कज दृशस्ताभ्योऽपि साराधिका
तेभ्यस्त पशुपालपङ्कजदृशस्ताभ्योऽपि साराधिका
प्रेष्टा तद्वदीयं तदीयशरसि तां नाशयेत् कः कृति
प्रेष्टा तद्वदीयं तदीयसरसि तां नाश्रयेत् का कृति. Thank you. So this is the translation. So in the previous verse, we saw a hierarchy of the different the spiritual places, so as to speak, right? How Mathura is greater than Vaikuntha and so on. So this verse tells us, how do we get there? Say Radhakunda is the topmost of all places, Rupa Goswami says in the previous verse, but how do we get to Radhakunda? Rupa Goswami tells us about it in this text. He says, in the Shastra, it is said that of all types of fruitive workers, he who is advanced in knowledge of higher values of life is favored by the Supreme Lord Hari. So we start with fruitive workers, and little bit advanced than the fruitive workers are those in knowledge, advanced in knowledge. Out of many such people who are advanced in knowledge, who are the jnanis, one who is practically liberated by virtue of his knowledge may take to devotional service. He is superior to others. Superior in the jnani is somebody who is actually taking to devotional service. However, one who has actually attained prema, pure love of Krishna, is superior to him. The gopis are exalted above all the advanced devotees because they are always totally dependent upon Sri Krishna, the transcendental cowherd boy. Among the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the most dear to Krishna. Her Kunda, lake, is as profoundly dear to Lord Krishna as this most beloved of gopis. Who then will not reside at Radha Kunda? And in a spiritual body surcharged with ecstatic devotional feelings, aprakrita bhava, render loving service to the divine couple, Sri Sri Radha Govinda, who perform their Ashtakaliya Leela, their eternal eightfold daily pastimes. Indeed, those who execute devotional service on the banks of Radha Kunda are the most fortunate people in the universe. So here Rupa Goswami gives us again a hierarchy of the different kinds of people and how each one is more advanced or more dearer to Krishna than the other. So we'll see this in Srila Prabhupada's purport. So this is the word for word. I thought this would be nice to go through also. So karmibhya, then all fruitive workers, parita, in all respects, hare, by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, priyataya, because of being favored, vyaktim yayu. It is said in the Shastra, jnanina, those advanced in knowledge, tebhya, superior to them, jnana vimukta, liberated by knowledge, bhakti parama, those engaged in devotional service, prema ekanishta, those who attain pure love of God, tatha, superior to them, tebhya, better than them, tha, they, pashupala pankaja drisha, the gopis who are always dependent on Krishna, the cowherd boy. You can see in Sanskrit how you can, this is one single word, pashupala pankaja drisha, but you can make these big words in Sanskrit. It's amazing how it can be. I think in the first verse of Srimad Bhagavatam also there is, I forget which one it is, but this one whole sentence is just one word, I think, in that. Or in the Naham Vipro Nachanarapati. I think that's probably what I'm thinking. Anyway, the Sanskrit has this amazing quality. Tabhya, above all of them, api, certainly, sa, she, Radhika, Srimati Radhika, Preshta, very dear, Tadvat, similarly, Iyam, this, Tadiya Sarasi, her lake, Shri Radha Kunda. Tam, Radha Kunda. Na, not. Ashrayet, would take shelter of. Ashraya, this is a common word. The first thing in NOD also Rupa Goswami says is Guru Padashraya, right? That's the first limb of bhakti, is taking shelter of Guru. Kha, who, and Kriti, most fortunate. So Prabhupada starts off the purport by talking about the karmis, or actually the different categories of people. He starts with karmis. He says at the present moment, almost everyone is engaged in some kind of fruitive activity. Those who are desirous of gaining material profits by working are called karmis, or fruitive workers. This is Prabhupada's definition of karmis. Prabhupada defines karmis, jnanis in this purport. He says those who are desirous of gaining material profits by working are called karmis, or fruitive workers. All living entities within this material world have come under the spell of Maya. This is one common thing for all of the living entities in this material world, is that we have come under the spell of Maya. And Prabhupada quotes this very famous verse, Vishnu Shakti Paraprokta, where it's from the Vishnu Purana that talks about the different energies of Krishna. Now it says Krishna is of superior energy, and we are also of the same quality as spirit souls. We are of the superior energy of Krishna, but it says there is a Tritiya Shakti, there is a third energy of Krishna, which is Maya, which is the material energy of Krishna. So everybody who is there in this material world is there because we are under the spell of Maya. So Prabhupada gives the basis of the place that we are in, the kshetra. And he continues, those living beings within the jurisdiction of the material energy sometimes engage themselves like dogs and hogs in working very hard simply for sense gratification. However, in this life or after executing pious activities in the next life, some karmis become strongly attracted to performing various kinds of sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. So most living entities in this material world, Prabhupada says, we sometimes engage like dogs and hogs, but probably for in the times that we live in, most of the times we're just doing this. We are working very, very hard for sense gratification. Most of the work that we're doing is so that we can satisfy our senses, because we don't have the basic knowledge of who we are. We think I'm the body, therefore satisfying my senses is what is going to give me happiness. And from that perspective, everybody is working very hard to satisfy their senses. But over time, when we do this, Prabhupada says that in this life or after executing pious activities in the next life, some karmis, or those who are interested in material profits or fruitive gains, perform sacrifices mentioned in the Vedas. So therefore, because they are performing these pious activities and sacrifices that are mentioned in the Vedas, they are elevated to the heavenly planets. Prabhupada is quoting this famous verse in the Gita, Kshine Punye Martya Lokam Vishanti. But the problem is, even after we go to these heavenly planets where we have lots of material comforts and our lifetimes are really long, but once our pious credits or pious credits are done, we again come to this loka, bhuloka. We go up and then we come down. And this is called Martya Loka. Prabhupada says the place of death. So this is the problem that we see, that we are trying to achieve material comforts, and we are trying to be pious, which is good, which is a good thing. We are trying to follow the regulations of the Vedas, and by doing so, such people actually go and enjoy material comforts in the higher planetary system, but yet it's not a permanent thing. You have to come back again. So Prabhupada continues, this is the position of all karmis, including those who act piously and those who act impiously. This is the problem, that either you act piously or you act impiously. Prabhupada will talk about who these impious people are. But in the beginning, he's talking about these pious people who are trying to do things. They are looking for material sense gratification, but they want to do it under the framework of the Vedas. They are accepting authority and therefore doing it. Therefore, they are pious people. So, but you can do things impiously also. So Prabhupada will talk a little bit about that, then we can explain a little bit. On this planet, we find many businessmen, politicians, and others who are simply interested in material happiness. They attempt to earn money by all means, not considering whether such means are pious or impious. Such people are called karmis or gross materialists. So whether you're doing it in pious ways or doing it in impious ways, they're called karmi. But because you're doing it for your own material gain, right? Who are simply interested in material happiness. That's the general overarching umbrella of karmis, Prabhupada is saying. But among the karmis are some vikarmis. Vikarmis means people who act without the guidance of Vedic knowledge. So they're still interested in their material happiness, but they don't follow any rules or regulations. They just go and do as they please and trying to satisfy whatever their needs and wants are. So this is problematic, right? Because you go to the supermarket, you need to buy some vegetables. The right way to do it is pay for the vegetables that you're going to get, rather than going and just stealing it. But the problem with both is that, for one, when you're within the rules and regulations, when you're doing it still for your material sense gratification, okay, you go to a higher planetary system, but then you still come back. But for the vikarmis, you're not following any rules and regulations, but because of that, you don't go higher, you commit sinful activities, and therefore you go lower. You take birth in as animals or plants, or you go to even hellish planets, depending on how sinful you've been, right? So therefore, Prabhupada says, in this way, such karmis are superior to vikarmis, for they are faithful to the directions of the Vedas and are certainly dear to Krishna. This was really striking for me when I was reading. Is for Krishna, the karmis are also dear, right? We sometimes think, oh, these karmis, these people who are after material sense gratification. But Krishna, they're dear to Krishna because they're still following the Krishna's framework of the Vedic knowledge, right? They're not doing things as they please like the vikarmis, but they're doing it within the framework of the Vedic of Vedas itself. So Prabhupada continues, those fruitive work actors who do not care for the Vedic directions are not appreciated by the learned saintly persons. So these people are the vikarmis, who are not really concerned about what the right way to do things are. All they're concerned is how they can be happy, how they can be satisfied. So this is this famous verse from Srimad Bhagavatam 5:5-4. Prabhupada is quoting, Nunam pramatta kurute vikarma yadindriya pritaya pranoti nasadu manye yata atmanoyam asannapi kleshada ashadeha. So this is Lord Rishabhadev advising instructing his sons. He says, materialists who work hard like dogs and hogs simply for sense gratification are actually mad. They simply perform all kinds of abominable activities simply for sense gratification. Material activities are not at all worthy of an intelligent man, for as a result of such activities, one gets a material body which is full of misery. So this is the problem that Prabhupada was mentioning in the previous paragraph, is that whether you do pious activities or whether you do impious activities, doing pious activities is definitely better. Within the framework of the Vedas is much better, of the Vedic directions. But the problem with both is that you're still going to get a new material body. If you do impious activities, the kind of material body you're going to get is going to be horrible. You might be in the you might go to hellish planets, or you might get a body of an animal or a plant or a lower living species. But if you do pious activities, yes, you might get some pleasure. You might go to higher planetary systems, but you still come back again and get a material body. And the problem with getting material body is that you're going to die. We are still under this cycle of birth, death, disease, and old age, right? Janma, mrityu, jara, vyadi, dukkha, doshanu, darshanam. Krishna says that this is a very miserable condition. Every time we take birth, even though we might think, oh, I've done so many pious activities, is that the nature of this world is that it's Dukhalayam and Ashashvatam. The Dukhalayam part is that you're always going to face the threefold miseries of this material world. We've seen this right from text 1, Prabhupada giving us the same thing in his purpose, emphasizing this. And that's why the first thing that we sing every day in the morning, the first few words are not about Krishna or not about how beautiful the spiritual world is. The first few words that we sing every day is Samshara Dhavanala, that how this material world is like a blazing forest fire, right? That's what this material world is. So the problem with even doing pious activities is that you're going to get a material body again, and you have to go through the threefold miseries: Adhyatmika, Adidaivika, Adibhautika. We've discussed this also in text 1, where Prabhupada quotes this conversation from the 6th canto, 6.1.1, I think, where he is talking about this conversation between Parikshit Maharaj and Shukdev Goswami of when he talks about the topic of atonement, right? When these vikarmis, they're doing something wrong, and finally they might even atone and realize that, oh, what I'm doing is not right. But then the desire for sense gratification has not gone. Therefore, this propensity to work for sense gratification arises, and therefore we take birth, and it's full of misery in this material world. So therefore, somebody who is a little bit more intelligent will try to understand the science of the soul. Right? One should therefore be eager to understand the science of the soul, Atma Tattva. Unless one comes to the platform of Atma Tattva, by which one understands that the soul and not the body is oneself, one remains on the platform of ignorance. So out of thousands and even millions of ignorant people who are wasting their time simply gratifying their senses, one may come to the platform of knowledge and understand higher values of life. Such a person is called a jnani, right? So many lifetimes we might have gone through this situation where I'm trying to enjoy happiness, thinking, oh, getting a big house might make me happy, or becoming really rich might make me happy. Getting fame or adoration or position of power and control might give me happiness. And for that, we start working in different ways. We try to do things that are not according to Vedic directions, and then we suffer the consequences of it. And then we realize, oh, doing this without the Vedic directions is very painful. Therefore, let me do it within the framework of the Vedas. Let me do it how the Vedas are asking me to do. Therefore, we're trying to do pious activities and thinking, oh, going to the heavenly planets is going to make me very happy, or having a beautiful wife or a husband is going to make me happy, like that. And over many lifetimes, we come to this understanding that, oh, none of these things are actually making me happy. And then we start asking questions. This is the actual point that the Vedanta Sutra says, right? Atato Brahma Jigyasa. That we start inquiring about the absolute. Who am I? Why am I here? And therefore, we start asking all these questions and come to this knowledge that, oh, I'm not really this body. I've been thinking I'm this body. And from that perspective, I've been trying to be happy, but it's only cost me misery. Yahi samsparsha jhabhoga dukkha yone evate atyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate Buddha. Krishna says, yahi samsparsha jhabhoga. Just by the senses coming in contact with the object of the senses, it only causes misery, Krishna says, if it is for our own satisfaction. Atyantavanta kaunteya nateshu ramate Buddha. It never makes you happy, Krishna says. So such a person, then out among thousands or even millions, Prabhupada says, one may come to this platform of knowledge, of understanding what is the higher value of life. Is it just about enjoying my senses? And then from that perspective, he knows that, oh, just doing these fruitive activities is binding me. It's either creating these impious reactions or pious reactions, but either way, it's binding me to this material existence, right? Therefore, I have to take another body and and suffer or enjoy the consequences of the good or bad reactions, but still it's binding. And Prabhupada says this is Sharira Bandha, bound to bodily existence. This verse is again the very next verse from the previous verse, Nunam Pramatta Kurute Vikarma. The previous verse that Prabhupada quoted, I think it's 554. This is 555. Sharira Bandha. Rishabdev continues to say, by doing materialistic activities, you're just going to be bound to this bodily existence. So therefore, a jnani knows this. He's completely come to this understanding that, okay, this is not really giving me any happiness or pleasure. It's only creating misery. And therefore, as long as one maintains any conception of sense enjoyment, his mind will always be absorbed in karma, fruit of activity. And this will oblige him to transmigrate from one body to another. So this time when I was reading this sentence that Prabhupada is writing was striking to me. He says, as long as one maintains any conception of sense enjoyment, his mind will be absorbed in karma. This is even as devotees, I was thinking how, like, we have so many conceptions of sense enjoyment. It might not be gross like the materialists, but then we have even so many subtle conceptions of sense enjoyment. Some even gross might still exist. But Prabhupada is saying, our mind, until that time, we have this conception of sense enjoyment. It will be absorbed in karma. We'll try to do things that will try to satisfy our conception of sense enjoyment, right? And therefore, we are obliged to transmigrate from one body to the other. Thus, a jnani is considered superior to karmi. This is why a jnani is considered. So initially, we have the vikarmis who are the lowest in the ladder, and better than them are the karmis who still have material sense tendency to gratify their senses, but still they're doing it under the Vedic direction. Better than them are the jnanis, because at least he refrains from the blind activities of sense enjoyment. This is the verdict of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So the jnani is better. However, although jnani may be liberated from ignorance of the karmis, unless he comes to the platform of devotional service, he is still considered to be in ignorance. So you might get to this point where you realize that, oh, these material activities are not really making me happy, but that's still not enough until we get to the point where we take up devotional service. This is the yoga ladder, right? You're in the jnani platform. The success of the jnana yoga is that ultimately through that knowledge you start taking up devotional service. But many times, because of the knowledge, one thing that comes with people who have a lot of knowledge is that they're proud, and therefore sometimes they completely go in the opposite direction and think themselves as God. This is the pitfall of jnana, is that if we don't take up devotional service, if we don't develop that humility, this knowledge could actually result in pride, and therefore it could take us to our fall. And the same thing with not the same thing, but the pitfall of the karma kanda itself is that you're still doing it for your own satisfaction. Therefore, at some point, you will break the rules, right? Because at some point, the lust will be so high that you have to get it at somehow or the other, by hook or crook. So therefore, we might go that route and do activities that are not according to Vedic direction. This is problematic. We've seen this in detail also in text 1 about in the discussion of atonement. So when a jnani takes to devotional service, he rapidly becomes superior to an ordinary jnani. So the person with just knowledge of this material world not being a source of bondage, or his material activities being a source of bondage, is good, but better than him is to actually know what to do with it, right? Okay, so what do I do which is the right activity, because we cannot be inactive. So we have to be active as spirit soul. So what is the right activity? So then a jnani comes to this platform and takes up to devotional service. And he is described as Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parama. So this is also, I think, a single word probably. And Prabhupada is quoting this, that this stage is not a very easy stage to come, or the people who are in this platform are very rare. He says, Bahunam Janmanamante Jnanavan Mam Prapadyate Vasudeva Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Right? A Jnani, after many, many births, actually comes to this knowledge and surrenders to Krishna. That he knows that Vasudeva Sarvamiti, that Krishna is this cause of all causes and all that is. And such a soul is very, very rare. Sa Mahatma, such a soul is very glorious. He's a Mahatma because he's taking up to devotional service, and Prapadyate is surrendering to Krishna, right? But it's Sudurlabha. It's a very, very rare occasion that such a person can come to this platform. Actually, a person is wise when he surrenders into the lotus feet of Krishna, but such a Mahatma, great soul, is very rare. So when we see devotees taking initiation and surrendering to Krishna, this is not an ordinary thing. When we are in the society of devotees, when we're just seeing this occurrence, we might think this is just common, but this is not a common thing. Krishna is saying this is a very rare thing. When somebody actually surrenders to Krishna, he's actually a very exalted soul. Okay, so this person has now taken up a devotional service. So initially we take up devotional service under rules and regulations. This is Vaidhi Bhakti. Devotional service under rules and regulations that we perform. Okay, we have to wake up at 4 in the morning, attend Mangalartik, chant 16 rounds, follow the principles. All of this has to be told to us because it's not spontaneous yet. But when we are continuing to do this, we've discussed this in text 7 and 8 in detail, is that a person will come to the platform of spontaneous love of Godhead. This is Raghanuga Bhakti, right? Following in the footsteps of great devotees like Narada and Sanaka and Sanatana. So such a person is better than the Jnana Vimukta Bhakti Parama, right? So somebody who has taken devotional service and doing it with under the rules and regulations. But better than him is somebody who actually has spontaneous devotional service, spontaneous love for Krishna. He's superior. The Supreme Personality of Godhead then recognizes him to be superior. The devotees who have developed love of Godhead are certainly in an exalted position. Okay, better than that, than Raganuga Bhakti is when we are actually attained prema. We have developed love of Godhead. So among the devotees who have developed this love of Godhead, the gopis are recognized as the superior, because they do not know anything other than satisfying Krishna. Nor do the gopis expect any return from Krishna. So the gopis are the epitome of selfless devotional service. Their only thing that they're interested in is how do I satisfy Krishna. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in a Sikshashtakam, right? Aslishya va padaratam pinashtuma madarshanan marmahatam karotuva yatha tatava vidadatu lampato mat prananatastu saeva naparaha. He says that Aslishya va padaratam pinashtuma. Krishna, you can crush me by your embrace, or adarshanan marma, or you can even kill me by not appearing in front of me, by not giving me darshan, right? Yatha tatava vidadatu lampato. Krishna, you can do anything that you want, but mat prananathas to say, you will always be the Lord of my life. So that is the position of the gopis, that they are doing everything so that Krishna is satisfied. They're not expecting anything in return from Krishna. Thus, of all the devotees who have developed unalloyed devotional service for Krishna, the gopis are the most exalted. And out of all these exalted gopis, Srimati Radharani is the highest. No one can excel the devotional service of Srimati Radharani. So among even the gopis, Srimati Radharani is the topmost or the highest. There is nobody who is superior than Srimati Radharani herself. This is why even Krishna appears as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is one of the internal reasons, right? There are two reasons, two kinds of reasons. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says why Mahaprabhu, Krishna appears as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So external reason is that he wants to spread the Yuga Dharma, or the spreading of the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. He wants to give this love of Godhead to everybody. This is his most merciful avatar, Mahavadanyaya. He Krishna Prema Pradayate. He freely wants to distribute love of Krishna. But the internal reason, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami says, is that Krishna himself wants to know what kind of ecstasy Radharani feels by serving him, because he's not able to understand, because she's not wanting anything from him, and yet is so happy. And even he puts the gopis in so much distress, Prabhupada says in the purport, by leaving their association, by separating himself from the gopis. The gopis are in so much distress through this viraha, through this separation from Krishna. And therefore Mahaprabhu wanted to see this. What was Radharani experiencing? He wanted to know what was this mood of Srimati Radharani. Therefore, he appeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to experience that Radha Bhava Dviti Suvalitao Naumi Krishna Swarupam. Kaviraj Goswami says he wanted to be in this bhava of Srimati Radharani, to experience this love that Radharani had for Krishna. And therefore, he was in this highest mood of Vipralamba Bhav, in the separation of Krishna in Jagannath Puri. This was his mood that he was exhibiting. Therefore, Srimati Radharani is the highest, that Krishna himself wants to take her mood and experience that. So in this way, Srila Rupa Goswami gradually concludes that Srimati Radharani is the most exalted devotee of Krishna, and that her Kunda, Sri Radha Kunda, is the most exalted place. So we've seen this before also in the previous verse, that the lake is non-different from Srimati Radharani. So therefore, Rupa Goswami is concluding here that Radha Kund is the most exalted place. This is verified in a quotation from Laghu Bhagavatamrita, Uttarakhanda 45, as quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Yatha Radha Priya Vishnos Tasya Kundam Priyam Tata Sarva Gopishu Saivaika Vishno Ratyanta Vallabha. Just as Srimati Radharani is dear to the Supreme Lord Krishna, Vishnu, so her bathing place, Radha Kunda, is equally dear to Krishna. Among all the gopis, she alone stands supreme as the Lord's most beloved. So this is the glory of Radha Kund, is that just as much as Srimati Radharani is dear to Krishna, her bathing place is equally dear to Krishna. So Radha Kund, Rupa Goswami concludes, therefore everyone Prabhupada concludes, therefore everyone interested in Krishna consciousness should ultimately take shelter of Radha Kund and execute devotional service there throughout one's life. This is the conclusion of Rupa Goswami in the 10th verse of Upadeshamrita. So yeah, this is the hierarchy that Rupa Goswami is talking about in this verse. So if there are any questions or comments, we'll stop here.
Hari Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol, Prabhuji. Amazing explanation for 10th shloka. So thank you so much, Prabhuji, for everything. I request to everyone, if anyone have any question, any realization, please feel free to raise your hand and ask to Prabhuji. Mehika, unmute yourself and ask your question.
Hare Krishna, please.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Roji, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but somebody's mic is also open. I think it's a little bit. Yeah, go
Can
ahead.
you hear me now?
Yes.
So, Prabhu, how you said that there are karmis and vikarmis. So throughout the day, we become vikarmis and karmis. So how, can you give some tip on how we should come out of the vikarmi stage and at least stay only in the karmi and go more in the stages as we're on the very low stage?
Yeah. I hope throughout the day we're not swapping in and out. Well, Vikarmi basically means we're doing something that are completely against the directions of the Vedas, right? For example, breaking the principles or something like that. Our goal is not to become karmis, right? That's not what we're not trying to become from vikarmis to karmis. What we're trying to become is devotees. The only way is to perform devotional service, which is for this yuga, chanting the holy names of the Lord, and try to refrain ourselves from breaking the 4 regulative principles. This is how we can do it. And for us to sustain doing this, we have to be in the association of devotees. Because if we are going into activities that are not proper, we need a strong association who can keep us from doing such activities. That's what I could say in a general way.
Thank you very much, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna Maharaji.
Hare Krishna, thank you. It was very, very nice, very inspiring.
Thank you.
We were, of course, we're always seeing that Prabhupada is just quoting the Bhagavatam and previous acharyas again and again and again. And many times he just paraphrases it. So I don't think if we notice it or not, but he's quoting 554, then 555. Then before that, he's talking about the Vikarmis, and he says sometimes they engage like hogs and dogs. But this is the very, very first instruction of Rishabdev.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were noticing at this time, and probably again is just paraphrasing that section. Is that how the previous acharyas, made their commentary or not? And another thing was that that we're realizing that if we follow karma, because karma people, that follow these things. For example, everybody wants to associate with the opposite sex. Young boys and young girls probably are naturally attracted, to each other. But then there's regulations for association and then marriage and things like that. So Prabhupada says every experienced person knows that sex, licit or illicit, is problematic. Okay. So you know that now, right? Yeah. Yes. Yeah. If your Sri knows this. Yeah. And so by doing the experiment, by setting the things up, by going through it, by watching it, which is karma, doing it the way Krishna wants us to do it, then automatically we become wise. So the result of being a karmi is that we become a jnani, And of course, maybe we have some taste, we have a little bija, and we're trying to focus on that, and we're trying to develop it. But we're not there all the time, and so sometimes, then we do. Prabhupada says over and above engaging in high devotional service, one should, cultivate knowledge, cultivate pious activities, So as much as we can't be fully engaged in devotional service, right? Then we do these other things too. But if we're always keeping in mind that I'm trying to, stop eating late at night, so I can be better in Mangalarti, then that's different than just some kind of like limited superficial relief from distress or something, So that's the point that we're thinking that, there's a hierarchy, but it's not that we just go from one to the other, there's always, maybe we're just becoming devotees, but mostly I know this, mostly we're trying to be good people and, to be a teacher in a school and teach the children to be good. Yeah. So thank you.
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Radha Govinda Mataji, do you have any question? Can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
Hare Krishna Mataji. No, Mataji, I don't have any question right now. Thank you, Mataji.
Prabhuji, there is one question in the chat.
Right.
She said, Prabhuji, as you described the stages of progressing in bhakti, instead of the stages, will chanting the holy name be a small shortcut to attain Krishna consciousness? Question mark.
Yeah, Prabhupada is going through the yoga ladder, like Krishna is saying, right? From karma to jnana to bhakti, like that. But what we're trying to do, chanting will definitely help us. But the beginning stages, we are trying to chant, and then it says it's in the offensive stage, right? We're committing so many offenses. We have the 10 offenses to the holy names. We're committing something or the other, or at least being inattentive. And then slowly, when we chant, we come to the clearing stage, and then ultimately we come to this stage of pure chanting. So yeah, chanting definitely. This is Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nameva Kevalam, Kalau Nastyeva, Nastyeva, Nastyeva Gatiranyata. There is no other way, no other way, no other way, right, than the chanting of the holy names of the Lord. But we should not do it so to gain something from it. That should not be what our thinking, hey, this could be a shortcut of sorts so that I cannot do other things and still like we have to cultivate, like Maharaj was saying, we have to try to be pious, we have to try to follow the regulative principles, we try to gain knowledge, at the same time perform devotional service. I didn't understand what the shortcut meant. If you meant it's the shortcut of the ladder, definitely yes. But if it's shortcut otherwise, we should not do it.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anybody have any more question? Please raise your hand and ask to Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Okay, Prabhuji. So there is no more questions, Prabhuji. So if you allow, can we find up our call here? Or if you want to say something in the end, so please.
No, it's been wonderful for us. That's all I wanted to say. Thank you for giving us this opportunity to read the NOI and say a few words about it. Thank you.
Hari Bol. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Holiness Hanmat Teksha Maharaj ji ki jai.
Jai.
His Grace Srinath Krishna Prabhuji ki jai. Vancha kalpataru vasya kripa sindhu vevacha patitanam pavnebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Vaishnav Vrind ki samat koti Vaishnav Vrind ki jai. Thank you so much, Maharaj ji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji, for everything.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Maharaj ji. Hari